Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. Today's video is going to feature a hundo white Kyurem, but I'm going to go as far as to say that is not the star of today's show, and the star of today's show is in fact going to be Solgaleo. Solgaleo is very difficult to obtain. Unfortunately, it's one of those Pokemon that you can't raid for, and you kind of have to pray that you get good IVs from the research, or that somebody can give you a good one through lucky trade. But if you are able to build this Pokemon, it is well worth it, and this is going to be my case as to why. Without keeping it too much longer, let's just get into the battles. We're going to be kicking things off with game number 1, leading Rhyperior into Necrozma Wings. Now, this is a very interesting lead, not a Pokemon very often seen, and I don't think I saw one at all outside of this particular battle, but we're going to build up to the Rock Wrecker and straight send the Rock Wrecker on 5, which is good timing. Necrozma Wings farming up a massive amount of energy, and here, I'm going to call a bait. Show me the Dark Pulse. It is indeed going to be the Dark Pulse, and now I'm going to be able to get to a Rock Wrecker. Necrozma Wings trying to force the CMP tie there, but I'm not going to play into it. I take the extra Mud Slap instead, and we are going to be able to make the back-to-back breaking swipes here, and that is going to be massive for us. One breaking swipe does not get the KO, but one further Mud Slap will, and in comes Dialga Origin, unfortunately just not able to make that move. In comes Solgaleo, and it's going to be the Kyurem Black in the back. I'm very happy to have Solgaleo stay in and fire off a Psychic Fangs here, and I am going to get one further Fire Spin, then pivot out into Kyurem White. Kyurem White now versus Kyurem Black. I'm going to no-shield this move. It's going to be the Fusion Bolt, and Fusion Bolt means that I can commit to the farm down because this is only going to be one further Fusion Bolt. Oh, excuse me, it's going to be the Freeze Shock. We get absolutely blasted. Excuse me for that one. But Solgaleo comes in for the farm down. In comes Dialga Origin, and Solgaleo's running low on health here, running low on shields as well. I'm sending the Psychic Fangs. Now Dialga has a shield remaining. I'm going to throw 3 and an Iron Head. I need this damage to land onto the Dialga, and it gets no shielded. Now it's a race. Are we going to be able to farm down the Dialga Origin? This is going to be an Iron Head. If they are doubled up, this game is absolutely over. Come on, Solgaleo. Solgaleo gets the farm down. GG's to this trainer. Getting into the next game, it's going to be Rhyperior leading into Ho-Oh. What an amazing lead for us. I'm going to stay in here. Of course I am, because realistically, neither of my 2 back Pokemon want to be aligned onto this if they can help it. In comes a Zacian, and Zacian, I'm going to be able to make 2 Rock Wreckers here, so I'm not entirely 100% in love with the play that they make here. They no-shield Rock Wrecker number 1, and now I've got Rock Wrecker number 2. Are they going to shield up to try to get this energy off on the Rhyperior? Nope, down goes the Zacian. I guess they didn't care for it very much. Back in comes the Ho-Oh, and now, if this is the standard moveset for Ho-Oh, we're in a good spot to just go ahead and no-shield here. It's going to be a Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire still does a lot of damage, gets the debuff unfortunately, and now I throw 3 further Mud Slaps and a Breaking Swipe bait. I don't necessarily have to bait here, but I'm going to anyway. We're going to throw 2. They look to try to catch our Rock Wrecker, which would have been double resisted onto the incoming Cobalion, but we're able to pivot out and save our Rhyperior for later. And since Solgaleo now has somewhere that it can actually go in this matchup, because Lord knows it doesn't want to go up against the Ho-Oh, we're in a pretty nice spot here. We're going to be able to fire off these Psychic Fangs. The only move we really need to take this Pokemon out is the Psychic Fangs. As you can see, these Sacred Swords are doing next to nothing, as Solgaleo is massively bulky. That is a very good move, Sacred Sword, but it just doesn't look like it in the face of Solgaleo with how tanky it is. Back in comes the Ho-Oh. I'm going to fire off the Psychic Fangs here, and now bring in the Rhyperior. Unfortunately, I deferred the Incinerate when I meant to try to get an extra Mud Slap and the Breaking Swipe off on the Ho-Oh. This is fine. They're going to fire off a Sacred Fire, but even with that debuff, I should be able to get this 2-shield farm down, or at this point, maybe even commit to, oh, the no-shield farm down. You love to see it. Okay, back in comes the Cobalion, and Cobalion has so much trouble ahead of it. They're just going to let this energy go. GG's to this trainer. Getting into the next game, Rhyperior is going to lead into a Melmetal. What an amazing lead once again. Rhyperior is just picking up all the leads in this game. We'll see some further games where maybe we don't have the best lead luck, This is kind of just looking like cherry pick gameplay at this point, but this is literally just the results of the best games that I had in 2 or 3 sets of this team. So apologies if it looks super cherry picked, but in comes the Kyurem White, and KW is going to have a real bad time once Solgaleo enters the group chat. They're going to fire off their energy on alignment, and that is no good for them, as now Solgaleo is just going to be able to get to the back-to-back Iron Heads. They are going to be able to make another Fusion Flare here, but if they want switch advantage, they're going to have to shield here. They no shield, maybe expecting a Psychic Fangs bait, but we're not baiting today. We're sending that Iron Head. Down goes the KW. In comes Palkia Origin, and now I'm sending the Psychic Fangs. Now, you might think this is a terrible matchup because, you know, Solgaleo is hitting for double resisted with these Fire Spins, but look at how much work we're putting in with these Psychic Fangs. The Palkia Origin's at half health, and we're not going to die to this move. This is only going to be an Aqua Tail. They did not build up to the Spatial Rend, so I'm going to let that go. Back in comes the Melmetal, and I'm looking to commit to a Psychic Fangs here. And I'm hoping this is just a double Iron Bash. It is, and look at how bulky Solgaleo is. I was at like 10% health, and I lived the double Iron Bash. In comes the Rhyperior. Here, I'm going to have to commit a shield, and maybe commit to a farm down. We're just able to get that farm down. That is absolutely perfect. And we've got just too many Pokemon for this trainer to get through, unfortunately. The Breaking Swipe shielded. We get another Breaking Swipe. I don't think this is quite going to KO. This looks like just outside of swipe range, but one further Mud Slap will do it. GG's. Getting into the next game, it's going to be Rhyperior into the new meta threat Florges. Florges is absolutely everywhere this season because it's a free-to-play pick that is now very good in the Open Master League, with that addition of Trailblaze this season, of course. Speaking of, I'm going to no-shield because the first Trailblaze is never going to KO Rhyperior. They are going to be able to make double Trailblaze because I'm committing to throwing my Rock Wrecker here on good timing, but that's fine. I can force either both shields or switch advantage from this Florges by going for the double Rock Wrecker here. And now Rock Wrecker number 1 gets shielded, and I am going to just click on Rock Wrecker number 2. What's the decision from the opposing trainer? Letting the Florges go is a very interesting play, and I kind of wanted to preserve switch advantage here, and I just bring in the KW with these Ice Fangs absolutely farming away. This KB's on Shadow Claw, so I would be in a bad spot to bring in Solgaleo when it's up so much energy. I correctly shield up the Freeze Shock, and I'm going for the Ice Burn, hoping that I can get this farm down onto the KB. We're able to catch the Freeze Shock on Solgaleo. That is a nice usage of a catch to waste a lot of their energy, but in comes a Mamoswine in the back. There's no shields remaining. Mamoswine is very glassy. Solgaleo with the Iron Head, is this going to be enough to KO? Yes, it is, but the trouble here is that I'm in Shadow Claw downrange because of just how much damage that Mamo did with the Mud Slaps, so they're going to be able to make one further Freeze Shock, Freeze Shock, and this game is over. GG's. Getting into the next game, it's going to be Rhyperior leading into Shadow Rhyperior. Once again, suspiciously, everybody that plays the Master League just happens to have one of these Shadow Hundo Rhyperiors. I really need to join this elusive club of Shadow Hundo Rhyperior havers. I don't even have a regular Hundo Rhyperior, dude, so I don't even know. Nevertheless, I'm going to fire off the Breaking Swipe. I tend to build up to 5 here to bluff a Surf, even though I don't have it. They're going to be able to make a move here. And from this range, since they threw all their energy straight away, I can just come in KW and get this massive farm down. A 4 Ice Fang head start may not feel like a lot. Oh, but it most certainly is. I'm going to build up to the Ice Burn and bait with the Fusion Flare. Now, this is a double resisted, very risky bait, but we're able to get it. In comes Solgaleo. They switched. Oh no, the Ice Switch, U Switch into the Tapu Bulu will seal that game. And then the next game is going to be Rhyperior leading into Zacian. This is a very neutral matchup all across the board. I'm going to build up a lot of energy, as I generally tend to do here, because I can throw after they throw their initial close combat here, and they're going to actually switch into their own Rhyperior. I'm quite low on mine now, but I know that this is only going to be a Breaking Swipe that I can very easily survive and be outside of Mud Slap farm down range. They don't get the debuff. So I'm going to commit to throwing this Fusion Flare here. Unfortunately, as I learned from this battle, this is not Fusion Flare range, and so I am going to... Am I going to concede switch here? No, I think I may have been able to barely live that breaking swipe if I really wanted to. In comes a KB, and KB, oh my goodness, we're building up and firing off the Fusion Flare here. It is going to be shielded by the KB, and we're bringing in the Rhyperior for the massive bait here. Bait on the breaking swipe, double shielded the KB, and they don't switch, so now we just get this Rock Wrecker off, and KB is eliminated. Down goes the KB, back in comes the Zacian. The Zacian's not going to have a fun time here now, is he? Oh, and we make the Rock Wrecker anyway. Zacian was committing to the quick attack down. Maybe what they needed to do there, but GG's nonetheless. Getting into the next game, what is Rhyperior leading into now? A Landorus. Oh my goodness, what a core breaker this is. I'm going to have to stay in and play this out. As terrible of a matchup as this is, they're going to be able to easily fire off their Sandsear Storm on 7. And this is going to do a savage amount of damage onto the Rhyperior. They're going to switch into the Dialga, hoping to catch our Rock Wrecker, but instead all they catch is a Breaking Swipe, the move we wanted to throw anyway, and we get that Breaking Swipe debuff. Now here's why I love this synergy with the Breaking Swipe debuff and the switch into Solgaleo, because if they bring in a Dialga Origin here, check this out. One Psychic Fangs, they're going to fire off a move. This is going to be the Roar of Time. Look at how pitiful the damage is. This very bulky Lion is going to commit to the 0 shield farm down of the Dialga Origin. One of the most meta Pokemon in the league. And now back in comes the Landorus. I have 100 energy on this Solgaleo, and I am about to start using it. Firing off Iron Head number 1. Iron Head number 2 will either force a shield or get a KO onto the Landorus. And if they commit a shield onto this Landorus, we're in a good spot because I can just bring in the Rhyperior and force them to either commit their final shield or give up the Landorus. They do not want to give up the Landorus, and they have given me a 2-0 shield advantage. White Kyurem, you see me frantically tapping my screen as I am going to wait out my switch timer, bring in KW, and in case this is a Stone Edge, I feel like my only lose con here is no shielding a Stone Edge for no reason. They go for the Sandsear Storm. This Palkia is not going to have a very fun time though, because the Ice Fangs it takes for me to get to my Ice Burn here are going to put them well within non-debuffed Ice Burn range. Because we're able to clear the debuff by switching in the Solgaleo, down goes the Palkia Origin. GG's. Now made it to the final game of the video, and it's a Rhyperior Mirror to boot. We are going to be able to stay in here. As I've said before, I like to fire off the move on 5, but in this instance I decided to go for a different play pattern and just go for the Breaking Swipe on 4, and they caught it onto a Florges. I'm going to bank 3 Mud Slap switch into the Solgaleo, and now what does Florges do? Can somebody in the class please raise their hand and tell me how Florges intends on winning this matchup? Spoiler alert, it absolutely will not. Nevertheless, Solgaleo is just going to go for the disrespectful Psychic Fangs and maybe even commit to the full farm down. Now, if they're boosted, my AirPods are apparently getting pretty low there. What a treat. Even if these Moonblasts were boosted, they're still not going to do much of anything at all onto the very bulky Solgaleo. And now their only play is bringing in the Rhyperior into a significant energy advantage Solgaleo. Tell me you're weak to Solgaleo without telling me you're weak to Solgaleo, I suppose. Here, I'm actually going to no-shield the Rock Wrecker. I actually view this as a pretty massive misplay on my part, because they're basically telegraphing the fact that they're very soft to Solgaleo in the back. And what other Pokemon than Dialga Origin is more soft to Solgaleo? Nevertheless, we're going to bring in our KW trying to get some Ice Fang damage onto the Rhyperior. We get that Ice Fang damage for all about 1.5 seconds before my opponent's neurons start firing off and let them know that that's a bad matchup that they probably shouldn't stay in. Nevertheless, they're going to fire off an Iron Head onto my Rhyperior, but fortunately we have such a massive energy lead, and we're going to be able to farm this Dialga all the way down, that it realistically is inconsequential. I'm going to fire off the Breaking Swipe number 1, and Breaking Swipe number 2 is going to get them quite low here, and it may actually leave them on 1 HP, so we're going to pivot out into the Solgaleo, catch their Breaking Swipe, and now this game is certifiably over. This game got a lot closer than it needed to here, because that Mud Slap's going to do quite a lot of damage. the Dragon Breasts were just able to hang on. GG's to this trainer. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me, and I very much believe that Solgaleo is 100% back in the Open Master League meta. It'd be very dishonest and very irresponsible of me to say this with as much confidence as I am if I believed it to be mid or if it weren't actually good, but that is not the case. If you have been holding off on getting one of these built, been saving the Rare Candy XL, or if you want to start investing into it now, try to do a couple lucky trades for Cosmogs or Solgaleos, I think this is a very good investment. With all that being said, thanks once again so much for watching. I've been Shmeaty. I hope to see you all again next time, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.